Gothic architecture for the building. This is typically anticipated when regarding the paranormal, but such stigmas aren't really known in their origin. No graveyard is found in the exterior of the property, decreasing odds of mass hauntings, though the risk is not entirely irrelevant either. Castles are quite large, and they would serve as the living quarters for potentially thousands of people over time, after all. Interestingly, all of the paintings seem to depict the same person, perhaps the most recent ruler. Though most of the art is quite old, it does seem well preserved, certainly well maintained. Oh, heavens if they aren't gorgeous, though. Perhaps we will scratch that one from the record, why don't we? There are no signs of pests within the building, which is certainly odd. The castle seems entirely abandoned and... I seem to stand corrected. Good evening there. Might I inquire what you're doing here? This estate isn't exactly open to the public. Then why am I here? I'm here on research. I'm funded by the Aquamarine Institution and University back in town. Right, names. I'm Dr. Van Helsing, and before you ask, no, I have no direct relation to the Dutch professor. Well, alright, he's technically a distant cousin, but that's a mess of a family tree that we've no need to delve into. Now, as for you, what are you doing here? I suppose you're right. That isn't really my business, now is it? Though I suppose if it took me so long to be given the permit to enter the estate, I'd imagine you have to have one as well. It was an absolute pain to get the heads of the institution to sign off on... You're leaving? Well, I would be happy to interpret the silent wave of a finger to be your way of beckoning me forth, so I suppose we are departing then. You certainly seem to know your way around, if nothing else. Are you an architect, then? It would certainly explain your presence. This castle is extraordinary in its design. Hundreds of years old, and yet it stands taller and more stunning than half of the buildings in town that came up less than 50 years ago. Alright then, not an architect. Well, surely you're here for some sort of research then? That's the only interest anyone ever holds around here anymore, myself included, though the scientists and skeptics are quite quick to decry my field of study as nothing but hearsay, speculation, and half-hearted myth. It drives me mad, you know? When I try to prove the existence of something supernatural in any form, I'm laughed out of the room, but the institution hosts their monthly seminars on whether or not extraterrestrial life is real, and that? Why, that is perfectly acceptable. Blathering hypocrites, the lot of them. Do forgive the outburst. I've a habit of rambling when impassioned, which is frequently, to be honest. I'm sure my half-cohesive drivel isn't what you wish to hear tonight. You're all right with it. That is a first, I believe. Thank you. Say, could I have your name? And now we're right back to strange. I've never heard someone say no to that question before, though I suppose that should always be expected, shouldn't it? It is a question, after all, not a demand. All right, keep your secrets for now, then. Where are we going, anyhow? I've been keen to follow your lead so far, but... Heavens, this room is elaborate. You would think some pest or another would have chewed through the velvet cushions on the chair by now, or that the fire would be out. Did you start that? You did? Right, yes. So, have you been researching, interior decorating? You're not a researcher. Well, then if you aren't one of those, then...
Master, do we have company?
Master? What did... Don't don't you shush me. This has become increasingly preposterous, and...
Forgive my intrusion, master, but your supper has been prepared. I do not wish to disturb your company, but your schedule is of the utmost importance. Of course, master. I have the glass for you here. I will not disrupt you any further, master. I will tend to my duties elsewhere. Yes, and good evening to you, Doctor.
What? How? Who was... Perhaps I... You're right, yes, perhaps I will sit down. I have a number of questions, it seems. First and foremost, who in the world was that? The institution surely would have informed me if there was more than one person here tonight. More than one other, anyways. I mean, they would have informed me if you were here, and then whoever that was. But speaking of, was that a butler? Oh, he was your butler? Right, all right. Yeah, that doesn't make a world of sense to me, to be completely honest. But well, how did he know I was a doctor? I mean, he spoke as if he knew me, which I highly doubt. My last publication was barely read by anyone, certainly not popular enough to someone... What, for them to recognize my face? So he read mine, and you've read mine. Well, that's an awful coincidence. Not to say that having my works read is awful, far from it, just a bit startling, I suppose. What would be the odds that I met another researcher and their butler... I suppose you said you weren't a researcher. Coincidentally, I met you and your butler, who were both well informed on my work. I mean, the bookstores won't even carry my findings anymore. Those damned concerns about another vampire scare. I'm just informing them of the truth, right? Say, though, why did you bring your butler here anyways? I mean, I don't know what you do, but surely your butler is less suited for whatever this purpose is. This is hardly any place to be waited on with a glass of wine. I mean, nobody's supposed to be here in the first place anyways, and... What do you mean that isn't wine? It's a rich red liquid in a wine glass. Of course it would be wine. The only other thing I could think of with that complexion is... I suddenly think myself to be a fool. The portraits, the butler, the readings of my work, the factor here at all, and now you. I think you're would now be a phenomenal time to inform you that I don't carry anything dangerous on me. No crosses, no stakes, no water of a holy variety, just a bit to drink in my flask, and oh, goodness, you are close. Your teeth seem far more sharp up close, and come again. Interested in me? You cannot be serious. I'm the paranormally obsessed one here. If anything, shouldn't I be the one interested in you? I'm not. That it is terribly invasive to read a man's private thoughts, right? I mean, particularly the ones he keeps in his investigative journals. All right. Well, yes, I do admit that my exact information on vampires is a touch lacking, but I haven't exactly found one before now. I'm just not too sure how to approach the subject, and, pardon? Stay here. You want me to stay here? Forgive me for questioning an immortal being in the room, but I'm not quite sure I follow the logic. If you own this estate, you're the reason why nobody ever comes here, then... Well, so... Well, but... Right, I suppose that makes a modicum of sense then, yes. You desire company outside of your eerie butler, and I am in desperate need of evidence for my research, so... Alright. Tentative agreements, then. I will remain here, study up on you and whatnot, provide any sort of conversation or other sorts of entertainment you so require, then we go from there, presumably. Preferably with a research paper published by the end of it. Well, I would credit you, but you still haven't given me a name, and... You are out of your undead mind if you think I'm calling you Master.